food, sports, and spirits, Frickers.
Having insurance isn't the same as having State Farm. It's like needing a lawyer, but getting some guy who just watches courtroom dramas.
How does the defendant plead?
Guilty. Wait, what? Also, objection.
You object to what?
Erroneous.
Counsel, approach the bench.
Hey, can I get a whack at the gavel?
You wouldn't settle for just any lawyer, so don't settle for just any insurance. Get the real deal with State Farm. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
This is the story of the one who keeps multiple buildings running smoothly day after day. Plumbing that flows, HVAC that hums, cleaning supplies that keep surfaces sparkling. That's why she counts on Grainger. With easy reordering online and 24/7 support, Grainger helps her keep the products she needs on hand. So shelves stay stocked and buildings stay ready. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
From the FIFA World Cup to competitive business environments, grand ambitions lead to game-changing achievements. At Bank of America, we're there to support businesses at every step, providing insights and expertise to help you gain an edge.
He shoots, he scores!
What would you like the power to do? Explore winning business solutions at BofA.com/gamechangers. Bank of America, official bank of the FIFA World Cup 2026.
Now, back to the Justin Kinner Show, right here on ESPN Dayton, 1410 Wing AM.
Swung on, and Suarez hits it high in the air. It's deep to center. Ewing back at the wall, turns, looks, gone! Hey, Eugenio Suarez's second home run already tonight, and it's a grand slam.
Like I said, Yahtzee!
Well, there haven't been too many big moments this season that have Reds fans excited, but last night's 12-0 shutout win in Game 1 against the Mets have Reds fans feeling a little excited just because of some of the characters that played a role in the Reds' 12-0 shutout win over the Mets. We welcome you in. It's the Justin Kinner Show right here on Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM, and you just heard the call on the radio from last night. Again, 12-0 Reds dominate over the Mets last night thanks to a couple big performances throughout the night from a lot of guys that everyone's been keeping an eye on this season. Eugenio Suarez goes 2 for 4 with 6 RBIs, 2 home runs, including a grand slam. And again, seeing him kind of get hot at this time would be a huge perk for the Reds, who desperately need that spark offensively in this lineup. And that's what we're going to talk about to open up the show. Again, it's been so much negativity when it comes to the Reds. Was last night just one game? I mean, we see bad teams have a big night every once in a while, but I feel like last night there was just something different about last night that makes me feel like the Reds could take this little momentum train. Yes, just from one game, and build upon it because of the characters that performed well last night. We'll talk about that to open up the show here today. Again, the Justin Kinner Show presented by Frickers. Frickers, your home for fun food, sports, and spirits. 937-518-1410. That's the number that you can call and jump in on the conversation. You can call that number or you can text that number if you want to be involved. 937-518-1410. We are live on the Justin Kinner Show YouTube channel. We're also live on the Justin Kinner Show Facebook page as well. That's where you could watch the show and jump in on the conversation. All right, so 12-0 last night. The Reds take care of business, and there was no doubt about this one. I mean, this is a team that has struggled to hit, and when they haven't struggled to hit, then they've struggled to advance runners and bring runners in, and this has been a team that has struggled to score runs. None of that was on display last night. I mean, they jumped on the Mets early, and Chase Burns, it's kind of crazy. You know, it wasn't one of his better starts of the season, but he goes 5 innings. He gives up 0 runs on 4 hits. He strikes out 7. Wasn't one of his better performances, but it's kind of funny that that's what we consider not a great performance by Chase Burns, who is just on an astronomical heater right now, a top 10 pitcher in baseball, no doubt about it. And as we've discussed, or at least I've said multiple times, everyone's counting the days till Hunter Green gets back. And I know this team desperately needs Hunter Green back, but everyone says, oh, they need Hunter Green back because when they need their best pitcher back. I don't think he is their best pitcher anymore. I think he's their second best pitcher, which isn't an insult. That just speaks to how high I am on Chase Burns and how talented that this kid is in only year 2. So we'll talk more about Chase Burns later on, but he does improve to 8-1 on the season. When he's on the mound, this team doesn't lose, and that was on display last night. But it wasn't necessarily that they got a win last night because Chase Burns was on the mound. They got a win last night because the guys in the lineup that you expect to produce, produced. All right. How about Sal Stewart? He gets a hit last night. He scores a couple runs. He drives a run in. He draws a walk. He does what he is supposed to, as far as that's concerned. You want to look up and down the lineup. Matt McClain, who continues, to find ways to get on base. He scored a couple runs last night as well. He drew a couple walks. He did what he's supposed to. He gets on base and creates an opportunity for the Reds. J.J. Bleday, we talked about the Major League Baseball All-Star voting update yesterday. Again, he's one of the top voters, one of the top outfielders as far as total votes are concerned. He's in the running to potentially get one of those 6 National League outfield All-Star spots. And we saw why last night. He's hitting 272 on the season. He goes 2 for 4, scores 2 runs, 4 RBIs, has a home run, drew a walk. Again, and then, of course, we already talked about it. Eugenio Suarez, 2 for 4, 6 RBIs, 2 home runs, including a grand slam in the second inning. I mean, he had 2 home runs in 2 innings. He had 6 RBIs in 2 innings, and really that's all the Reds would need the rest of the way. They would put on 3 more runs later on in the game in the bottom of the 8th. But again, a 12-0 shutout win, the Reds in dominating fashion. Here's what, and again, I talked about this on the show yesterday. Because while everyone's living on the negative side when it comes to the Reds, and by the way, not that I'm blaming you for being negative. I mean, this is a team that when you look at it right now, 34-37, they're still 3 games back of a wild card spot. Okay, they did make up an entire game. They were 4 games back heading into that Game 1 matchup with the Mets last night. A 12-0 shutout win over the Mets, brings the Reds back within 3 games of a playoff spot. They did only make up a half game in the division. They're 10 games back of the division. I hate ruling out the division, but I don't think the division's at play right now for the Reds. I thought that they would be in play for it at the beginning of the season. I do believe this is too big of a hole to dig themselves out of, unless the bats come alive. But I think that right now, the Reds are firmly in the conversation for one of these final playoff spots in the National League, but there's still a lot of time left to be played, still a lot of games left to be played, and there's still a lot of guys that aren't playing. I know there's updates on Elly De La Cruz and Emilio Pagan. I know there's updates on Hunter Green, right? Graham Ashcraft. There's a lot of really good players that the Reds are still without, and the Reds are going to be getting them back here in the near future. And I threw out the question yesterday. What happens if this team does start clicking all at the same time, right? Elly De La Cruz was playing at an MVP-like level before he goes out with that hamstring injury, correct? He was playing at an MVP-like level, easily the hottest start to a season we've seen from Elly since he had that breakout year a few years ago when he first, jumped onto the scene. Elly's been phenomenal. Sal Stewart's been a phenomenal rookie right off the bat, proven that he doesn't just belong on this roster, but belongs in Major League Baseball. I mean, we're seeing it already. I mean, he's getting so many votes already. He's one of the top vote getters in the National League at first base. All right, so you have Sal Stewart, you have Elly De La Cruz. Those two have been playing at a high level. You bring in an Eugenio Suarez based on the expectations of what he has done in recent seasons, most notably what he did last season, nearly hitting 50 home runs. Imagine a team that desperately needs offensive contributions and run production. What a guy that can hit 50 home runs would do. If you're getting the production from Elly De La Cruz and Sal Stewart, and then Eugenio Suarez, he takes off bat-wise. J.J. Bleday has just been a blessing to this team, because where would they be without J.J. Bleday? I know you're not pleased with where they're at right now, but where would they be without him? So if you get Elly rolling like he was before the injury, and Sal Stewart continues playing at the level that he is, and J.J. Bleday, one of the best hitters and one of the best performers in baseball right now, and the Reds are fortunate to have him, and then Eugenio Suarez. What happens if he catches fire and he takes off? In the postgame last night, they were talking about that with him, who normally, he's always a traditional, historically, he's been a slow starter when it comes to home runs on the season. But by the time you get into those, that late June, July, and August, that's when his bat usually lights up. And that's what he was talking about is, he hates that it does take so long for that bat to catch fire. But this is around the time every year where you start to see Suarez's bat take off. And I can't think of a better time for the Reds than right now for that bat to start to take off. Elly De La Cruz, he's inching closer and closer to a return. You get that MVP Elly back, that MVP-like Elly back, right? Because he was performing, in my opinion, at an MVP-like level. You get him back. Suarez starts swinging the bat like he traditionally does at this time. J.J. Bleday's just been lights out, right? And then Sal Stewart. This is still not a very deep baseball team. I completely get it. But I think that those four, based on, what you are potentially able to get pitching wise, as that bullpen starts to get healthier as well, I think that this team needs, as much help as they can get from a run production standpoint. I think that those four, it's not fair to them. They have to be damn near perfect. But the Reds at least have guys that they can look at and say, okay, these guys actually are good enough to carry us and take us where we need to be. It's not fair, but that's just the reality of it. There are some teams who are in the mix right now that they're looking around and they don't know where their help is going to come from. Say what you want about the Reds, but I'm looking around and I can see where the help is going to come from. We saw it last night, and I can also see that guys who are out with an injury who are supposed to come back very soon, the Reds are going to get help from them too. This team is not very deep even when they're completely healthy. Fair. I never said this was a perfect roster. I never said that this was a World Series favorite. But I'm looking around baseball, and I look around at a lot of those teams who are hovering around 500. I mean, you see those teams right there in the mix. I mean, I'm looking at Pittsburgh, 36-37, the Marlins, 36-37, the Diamondbacks, and the Reds. They had a lead on the Diamondbacks in every single one of those games. They should have won that series against the Diamondbacks, right? You have the Cardinals who are 39-31. Up until that Reds series, they were playing poor baseball. But to their credit, they've been playing well. The Phillies have finally found themselves a bit. The Padres have continued to struggle, but they're holding on to a playoff spot. The Nationals are average. Cubs have been average. Diamondbacks average. Marlins, Pirates average. The Reds have been average. But the Reds have reinforcements coming. Those other teams don't. Not saying those other teams can't make a move at the deadline. But it is going to be interesting to see where the Reds go from here. I think last night felt different. The Reds have sprinkled in wins over the last month. They haven't been, they haven't gone on streaks. They haven't caught fire by any means, but they've sprinkled in some wins here and there. Last night just felt a little different. I think that they could feed off that momentum. I think they're going to jump on the Mets again early tonight. Blade was awesome last night. Suarez was awesome last night. McClain, even when he's not swinging a hot bat, he's disciplined at the plate, found a way to get on base, and was able to score and produce a couple runs. Sal Stewart, J.J. Blade, Sal Stewart, Eugenio Suarez, Matt McClain. You're going to get Ellie back here in the near future as well. So I like last night just made me feel a little bit different. And again, everyone's going to say, oh my gosh, rolling their eyes at this comment or at this conversation right now. I'm not rolling my eyes at it. I think last night just felt different. The Reds have sprinkled in wins over the last couple of weeks, but even after the wins, it just felt like, okay, they live to see another day. Last night just felt different because if Suarez does start swinging a hot bat, and I don't expect him to average 2 home runs and 6 RBIs a night moving forward, but this is a guy that, man, you start swinging the bat at a pace of about 50 home runs a season, I think you're going to start to see the fortunes of the Reds completely change moving forward. I'm not saying they're winning this division. I'm not saying that they're going to go on a heater and win a World Series, but all these teams who are in the mix right now, they're waiting for somebody to kind of open it up for them, and the Reds have that in Eugenio Suarez, and we'll see if it's good enough to put them in that position moving forward. Again, 12-0. The Reds get a huge win last night at Great American Ballpark to set the tone in Game 1. Chase Burns, phenomenal. Suarez, phenomenal. We'll see if the Reds can feed off that momentum as they continue here today. No surprise, Ron Howard, he's on the Justin Kinner Show Facebook page. He's not buying it. He said, fool's gold. This team is a train wreck and heading for a losing season. This team just does not have what it takes to make the postseason. This team needs a deep wallet. With what they have right now, I've already explained where I stand as far as that's concerned. This team's not perfect, but like I said, I keep throwing these standings up there. The Pirates aren't perfect. The Marlins, the Diamondbacks, the Cubs, the Nationals, hell, the Padres, all these teams, they all have flaws. So we could sit here and tell me why the Reds aren't going to make it because of their flaws, but I could tell you why all those other teams aren't going to make it either because of their flaws. And what those other teams don't have is a guy like Suarez who can catch fire and pace this team as a level 50 home run type guy. Ellie De La Cruz, right? You have Hunter Green coming back. You have an MVP caliber player coming back and a Cy Young caliber pitcher coming back. Plus depth in the bullpen. I feel fine with where the Reds are at, considering the circumstances. Keith Tolliver. Keith, hope you're well, sir. Keith says, as a Cards fan, I feel the downfall is on its way. Keith, are you referencing downfall for your Cardinals? I don't think your team's bad. I don't think that any of these teams are bad. I just don't think any of these teams are really good either. I don't think the Cardinals are really good. I think all of these teams, they're just average, right? They're just average. And I think that the Reds are an average team who have not even been playing to that level. And I think that if Suarez starts swinging that bat, and I think last night could be the signs of maybe a hot streak moving forward, we'll see. But I'm choosing to be positive because I'm tired of all the negativity when it comes to this Reds team. But Keith, I appreciate you listening. Thanks for the feedback. But yeah, I don't think anyone in the NL Central should feel super comfortable or confident. But I liked what I saw last night from the Reds. 937-518-1410. The phone lines are open. You can text or call to jump in on the conversation. Am I overreacting? Maybe. I don't think I am. I've seen the Reds sprinkle some wins in over the last couple of weeks, and none of those wins made me feel really good. It's like, okay, fine. They were able to kind of get through with the win right there. Okay, cool. Can they string it together? But last night, it was just the way that the Reds went about their business. Suarez, Blade, Sal Stewart, Chase Burns was phenomenal on the mound. That's the winning recipe right there. And I get Burns can't be on the mound every night. But again, you provided some run support, jumped on teams early. I like what the Reds did last night, and I think that they could build on it. 937-518-1410. Do you agree with me? Did last night feel different? Did last night kind of feel like, okay, they can, we're about to see Suarez get hot. We're about to see this team take off a little bit. 937-518-1410. Text or call. We'll be right back. More of the Justin Kinner Show presented by Frickers when we return.
Question for you. Would you rather pay $150 a month or $15 a month to work out with the same high-quality gym equipment? At Planet Fitness, you can get top-tier equipment for $15 a month. Plus, save $28 or more when you join now during our Strong Choice sale. Our weights weigh the same, you just don't pay the same. Enjoy free fitness training and 24-hour access at most clubs, all in the judgment-free zone. Join Planet Fitness today and save $28 or more when you join for $1 down, $15 a month, cancel anytime. Deal ends October 10th. See club for details.
Onyx, I keep having stomach issues. Please make me a doctor's appointment.
Okay. Are you suffering from diarrhea, bloating, gas, or oily stools? If so, you may want to ask your doctor if it could actually be a problem with your pancreas, called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI.
My pancreas? How is EPI treated?
A prescription medicine like Creon, pancrelipase, is used to treat people who can't digest food normally because their pancreas doesn't make enough enzymes. Creon is the #1 prescribed treatment for EPI.
Creon may increase your chance of fibrosing colonopathy, a rare bowel disorder. Tell your doctor if you have a history of intestinal blockage or scarring or thickening of your bowel wall, if you are allergic to pork, or if you have gout, kidney problems, or worsening of painful swollen joints. Call your doctor if you have any unusual or severe gastrointestinal symptoms or allergic reactions. Take Creon as directed by your doctor and always with food. Do not chew capsules, as this may cause mouth irritation. Other side effects may include blood sugar changes, gas, dizziness, sore throat, and cough. These are not all the side effects of Creon. You can learn more at 1-800-633-9110.
Before your appointment, visit creoninfo.com. That's CREON info.com.
Cordell Transportation is looking for more weekend warriors. If you have a Class A CDL and would like to make some extra money casually driving weekend daytime routes, then Cordell Transportation is looking for you. Home daily, all loads round trip, no touch freight, and competitive pay. Full-time routes could become available if you're interested. Drive weekends at Cordell Transportation. Apply at CordellTransportation.com or call Ron at 937-277-7271. Cordell Transportation, driven to succeed.
America wouldn't be America without Ohio. So this year, while we celebrate our nation's 250th year, let's also celebrate Ohio's vital role in our nation's past, its present, and its future. At America250ohio.org, you'll find events from engaging talks on history to Ohio-related movies to memorable drives around the state. There's so much to discover. So what are you waiting for? This celebration begins at America250ohio.org. Sponsored by the Ohio History Connection, aired by the OAB and this station.
Hey, Cordell Transportation is now hiring experienced Class A CDL drivers, excellent pay, benefits, and a $5,000 sign-on bonus. Apply right now, online at CordellTransportation.com. Do it right now. Driven to succeed.
This Father's Day, do more with Dad and spend less with low prices guaranteed at the Home Depot. Get him fired up with a new grill and accessories, like the Next Grill 5-burner for just $299, so you can spend more time together while he becomes the grill master he was always meant to be. Or build memories with savings on top brand power tools so you can tackle projects side by side. Gift more and do more together this Father's Day with help from the Home Depot. Exclusions apply. See HomeDepot.com/price match for details.
A small business affirmation from Progressive. Bakery owners, you will be loved today. Every pastry will be flaky. Your cake will make a child's day. Your delivery van won't get sideswiped by a distracted garbage truck driver. But if so, breathe easy, knowing you'll get back to business quickly with Progressive protecting your commercial auto. See if you can save in as little as 8 minutes at progressivecommercial.com.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
From the Montgomery County Clerk of Court's office, I'm Shannon Crabtree. Join us for Clerk Mike Foley's award-winning Connecting with the Community speaker series, connecting citizens to local leaders. Join us on Tuesday, July 21st, when National Peace Ambassador Marlon Shackelford shares highlights of his award-winning violence interruption programming. That's Connecting with the Community from 6 to 7 p.m. at the Employment Opportunity Center in the Westtown Shopping Center on West 3rd Street in Dayton. Another example of how Clerk Mike Foley is bringing the courthouse to you.
Now, back to the Justin Kinner Show, right here on ESPN Dayton, 1410 Wing AM.
Swung on, and Suarez hits it high in the air. It's deep to center. Ewing back at the wall, turns, looks, gone! Hey, Eugenio Suarez's second home run already tonight, and it's a grand slam.
Like I said, Yahtzee!
It was nice to hear a little excitement in Tommy throwing the Cowboy last night in the Reds. 12-0 shutout win over the Mets. And I'm getting a lot of heat already. Kinner, you're beyond overreacting to last night. There's 162 games. You should not put a lot of stock into one particular game. I get it. But if the Reds lost 12-0 last night, we'd all be ready to jump off the edge, right? Like, that's just how this works. I get it. I get the psychology of sports. But like I said, you know, that 12-0 win last night over the Mets. Okay, the Reds have had wins in recent games. They beat the Diamondbacks 2-1 in game 2, right? They had that 5-3 2-run win against the Padres, and that come from, they were able to win late in that game and win a game that they've normally lost. But again, after those wins, those wins felt like they escaped with the win. They just, and I'm not even talking about the fact that it was 12-0. But those couple wins in those previous series, they just felt like, all right, the Reds found a way to win ugly. Last night was only different just because there are guys that we are expecting to start to take off and be main contributors to this team's success moving forward. And guys like Eugenio Suarez, who was brought here for what he did last night. And I don't expect Eugenio Suarez to average 2 home runs and a grand slam and 6 RBIs a night. But I do think that when you saw Eugenio Suarez jump on the opposing pitching early, it became infectious. The Reds put up 9 of their 12 runs in the first 2 innings. And I told you on the show yesterday, one of the things I'm starting to notice is the fact that the Reds, who do struggle to produce runs, they have no problem jumping on the opposing team's starting pitcher. They're putting runs up early in games, and then their bats go cold for a bit, and then they're desperately holding on when their pitching comes in late to hold on for those leads. Now, last night, kind of the same thing, but you put up 9 runs, you're naturally, instinctually going to take your foot off the gas, but they were able to put 3 more additional runs later in the game. But as I said, the reason I felt like last night's game just felt different to me is because last night was the first time I watched the Reds in a while where I'm like, that's how they're supposed to look. And I don't mean the 12 runs. What I mean by that's how they're supposed to look, they're supposed to win games because of Chase Burns. That's how they're supposed to look. They're supposed to win games because of Eugenio Suarez and Sal Stewart, JJ Bleday. That's how they're supposed to look. That's how they're supposed to win games. That's what I mean by last night felt different. Sometimes when you get a guy at the bottom of the lineup that catches fire, all right, and by the way, Noelvi Marte last night, as great as he's been since being called back up, he was 0 for 4 last night. And I'm not saying that he's horrible and you should cut him or anything like that. But when the Reds were winning games because Noelvi Marte was producing and nobody else was, that's a problem. Because you can't count on Noelvi Marte on every single night. Like, he has not shown throughout his career that you can count on him to be that guy. I have seen Sal Stewart in a short amount of time be more reliable consistently. Like, it's not like, oh man, take advantage of this hot streak from Sal Stewart. No, Sal Stewart's been great since he's been called up. Suarez, who has not been great since being here, and again, as he started to heat up, those injuries, that injury definitely derailed him, and he hasn't been consistent since being here. But I've always looked at him, even in his struggles, and said, he's going to catch fire. He's always been a slow starter. Even the last couple of stops since leaving the Reds, that's been the narrative with them. A slow starter, and as the warmer temps start to rise, he starts to produce more. And I don't think it's a coincidence that it's mid-June and last night we see that breakout game. I think last night was a breakout game. So my point is I expect that from Suarez. I expect Sal Stewart to produce more nights than not. I expect JJ Bleday, who has been a, Nick Kroll for all the bad moves that he has made. He's always good for these types of moves right here. He's always good for bringing somebody in off the scrap heap that usually produces at a cheap level, right? And that's been J.J. Bleday. But J.J. Bleday is actually a pretty good player. He's been a good player at every stop. He's just not a guy that a lot of teams want to marry long-term. But for a team that's desperate and needs offensive contributions, he's been a blessing for the Reds this season. This is a guy that didn't even start on the Reds roster when the season started. So my point about last night, the reason it felt different, it wasn't, no Suarez, no Stewart, you know what I mean, and none of your main contributors, and it was just a big night for Noelvi Marte. I wouldn't have felt as warm and fuzzy about it. But this is how the Reds were supposed to look. Coming into the season, I thought this team's going to win games because of Elly De La Cruz, Eugenio Suarez, Sal Stewart, right? And that's what we saw last night. And Chase Burns, the sad thing is he went 5 innings, shut out, gave up no runs on 4 hits, struck out 7, right? That wasn't even one of his better performances on the season. I love that the way he attacked Soto, by the way, after he ticked him off when he, called the timeout late and of course wasted a pitch, and then he just revved up and brought high inside heat and just struck him out. I thought that was one of my favorite at-bats that he has faced all season. But yeah, Chase Burns, just can't get enough of him. Top 10 stuff, not just last night, but all season. Suarez was humongous last night. The grand slam, the 2 home runs, the 6 RBIs. I mean, all in the first 2 innings of work. Like I said, last night, to me, the way the Reds won that game last night is what I expect them to look like. And it's tough for them to do every night. I get it. But nonetheless, I don't feel like I overreacted to last night. I feel like last night, okay, starting to see Suarez get a little comfortable. And by the way, everyone out there, I think it was Shaw and some others who were burying Eugenio Suarez, saying how horrible of a get this was for the Reds because he hasn't lived up to what he was expected to do coming in. I'm not making excuses, but I do think that injury definitely did not do him any favors. He was brought in to be a home run guy. But what I do like about Suarez is there are guys in baseball who they're home run hitters, and if you're not getting home runs, you're not getting anything. But, he was 2 for 4 last night with 2 home runs against the Mets. But before that, he wasn't hitting home runs. Now, he did hit a home run against the Diamondbacks, all right? But he had a home run and a hit. I'm sorry, not a home run. He had a double. He had an extra base hit. But he had a hit against the Diamondbacks. He had 3 hits in the Diamondbacks series. He had 3 hits in the Padres series, all right? He had, I'm counting. He had a hit in 8 of his previous 10 games. At least in Suarez's, to his credit, he's been finding ways to put the bat on the ball, put the ball in play, get on base, and give his team at least a chance. Yes, I expect him to hit home runs, but if you're not going to hit home runs, at least put the ball in play and get on base and give your team a chance. He's done that. He's not an MVP. He's not going to be he's not going to make one of those, 2 designated hitter all-star spots by any means. I completely get that. But I tell you what, if he saw the ball well last night, 2 different pitchers out of the ballpark on both, 6 RBIs, a grand slam, 2 home runs, big night from him. Last night was a fun game to watch. It was a fun game to watch. There hasn't been many of those for the Reds this season. Do I expect him to win 12-0 every night moving forward? No. But if you're going to get contributions from Sal Stewart and Eugenio Suarez and J.J. Bleday and Ellie's coming back here soon, come on. What more can you ask for from a team that has a lot of deficiencies? But I want this team to start losing because of the deficiencies and not because, and I don't want them to lose at all, but I would rather this team start to lose because of their deficiencies and not because they're not getting contributions from Sal, Suarez, Bleday, Ellie, guys like that. That was a fun one last night. No doubt. Now, some of you do believe that I am overreacting. AJ, appreciate you listening. AJ just texted into the show and he said, overreaction, Justin, even a blind squirrel finds a nut once in a while. But that's my point. I think when you get big performances from a Noelvi Marte, I think that's the blind squirrel that finds a nut every once in a while. I don't think that Eugenio Suarez having a big night at the plate, knocking the snot out of the ball and out of the ballpark, that's not a blind squirrel finding a nut. That's Eugenio Suarez doing what the hell he was supposed to do. That's what he was brought here for. I don't think that's a blind squirrel finding a nut. All right. I think that's Eugenio Suarez starting to get hot, and he's been hitting the ball as of late, and he's been getting on base. He hasn't been hitting home runs, but last night I think could be the start to that. And that's what I meant by this isn't something new. Oh my gosh, Suarez hit a home run. How unlike him. No, that's what he was brought here to do. Sal Stewart, he's been great all season. J.J. Bleday, He's been one of the biggest, feel-good stories about the Reds this season, and a season that's been filled with a lot of suck, all right? But this is a guy, J.J. Bleday, that's, he's one of the top all-star vote getters out there, and he's, still in the running to get one of those final 6 outfield spots. I don't think he's going to get it. I think there's too many other big-name players out there, but my goodness, what another big performance from him last night. So, no, I disagree, AJ. I don't think that this was last night, a blind squirrel finds a nut every once in a while. No. That's Noelvi Marte. That's that to me, that's Noelvi Marte when it's all said and done. Okay. That's a guy that, we can't count on him consistently. He doesn't do it enough for us to, if looking up and down this lineup, Matt McClain, who's just been for the last 2 years, outside of his rookie season, he's been a 200 hitter. Not good enough. A guy, he catches fire and hits a home run. If Matt McClain would have had 2 home runs last night, including a grand slam, I wouldn't be sitting here saying he's back. That's who he is. That's what he does. That would have been an example of a blind squirrel finding a nut. Eugenio Suarez having 2 home runs, including a grand slam and 6 RBIs. That's not a blind squirrel finding a nut. That's Eugenio Suarez doing what he was brought here to do. And if Suarez starts to heat up and provide some pop and some spark for this team offensively, and you continue to get the production from J.J. Bleday, and you continue to get that production from Sal Stewart, all right, and Spencer Steer, who's been a regular contributor, and consistent contributor all season, you're getting Ellie back here soon. I don't think I'm overreacting. I think there's something here. He also goes on to say, and it's the Mets who hasn't taken them behind, in the woodshed is what he's trying to say, as if it's not impressive. I get it. I understand that it's just the Mets. But let me tell you this. The Reds have played a lot of bad teams as of late and haven't been able to do that. The Cardinals, when that series started, the Cardinals were 2-8 in their previous 10 games heading into the Reds series, and they took 2 of 3 from the Reds. Okay. How about the Padres? The Padres were also 2-8 in their previous 10 heading into that series, and the Reds didn't take them behind the woodshed, and a lot of other teams did as far as that's concerned. The Diamondbacks, okay? The Diamondbacks also were 2-8 heading into this series with the Reds. Guess what? In the previous 10 games, and they beat the Reds, okay? So I get what you're saying, all right? It's just the Mets, but the Reds have played just the Cardinals, just the Diamondbacks, just the Padres. They've played lots of just the whatever, and they haven't been able to do that. Last night, to me, was something different. I think guys are starting to finally be fed up with the losing. They get it, and I think we're going to see another big performance tonight. I think we're going to start to see some guys start to heat up, or at least not heat up, but continue to stay hot, and I think that the Reds are going to ride that momentum. Brady Singer on the mound tonight. All right. Can't wait to see J.J. Bleday. Can't wait to see Eugenio Suarez, how they follow up a big performance from last night. And I can't wait to see you guys again on Thursday when I'm back on the air, when I have egg on my face if none of this happens. But like I said, this just feels different at the end of the day. I'm Justin Kinner. It's the Justin Kinner Show here on 1410 ESPN Radio. I'm fired up. I love the Cincinnati Reds, okay? And I'm tired of all the negativity. And what I don't mean by you guys. The negativity is because of them. Like they've been butt, no doubt about it. They're a hard team to watch. Even when they play well, they're hard to watch because they find a way to keep you sucked into the game. Oh man, they have a 2-0 lead, a 4-1 lead, a 3-2 lead, and there goes the lead. They lose. They break your heart late in the game every single time, right? It's been tough, but they've had a ton of injuries, and a lot of their guys that are supposed to put them in position to win games just haven't been readily available. But we saw last night, Suarez, who's starting to get comfortable. I think I'm excited to see where this goes. Last night just felt different to me. Last night's win felt different than previous wins against bad teams. I'm just saying, as far as that goes. Ron, still on my case. You can praise and pump up this team, but a team average of 231 is not a playoff team. Wake up. Sorry to be a doubter, but fact is fact. Look, there's a lot of facts. I can go up and down each and every one of these teams that are in the playoff race right now. The Cardinals pitching is not great. The Padres hitting has not been great, and they've been a great overachieving team with all the money that they've piped into that damn roster, right? The Diamondbacks, they're an average team. They don't have great pitching. They don't have bad pitching. They don't have great hitting. They don't have bad hitting. They're just kind of bleh. They're just kind of there. Every one of these teams, I could sit there and tell you why they're not going to win a World Series, why they're not going to make the playoffs. But yet every one of those teams in the mix. And you're telling me all the reasons the Reds should not be in the mix. They're not going to do this. They're not going to do that. I still think that their strengths are actually better than those others when this team's officially healthy. I'll take this team's rotation over the Diamondbacks, over the Cubs, Nationals, Padres, Phillies, Cardinals. Give me the Reds rotation over any of those teams, okay? I'll take Elly De La Cruz and Suarez, and I'll take now J.J. Bleday into that mix and the emergence of Sal Stewart. I'll take those four. They're better lineups, but I love those four together along with that pitching and when this bullpen gets healthy, and maybe, just maybe, might be too much to ask of this front office, make a move at the deadline that's not sending guys out. I still like what the Reds have going up against these other teams who are in the mix as well. So, again, stop telling me all the crap that's wrong with the Reds as if none of these other teams have crap wrong with them as well. There's a reason that as bad as you think that the Reds have looked, that they're not buried in as far as the playoffs are concerned. It's because all those other teams have issues with them as well. I just like the Reds' strengths better when this team's healthy and everything's rolling at the same time. I'm Justin Kinner. It's the Justin Kinner Show, 1410 ESPN Radio. We're brought to you by our friends over at Frickers. Frickers, your home for fun, food, sports, and spirits. They got the timer in my ear. I got to hit break. We'll be right back. More of the Justin Kinner Show when we come back.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
I'm Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group. Did you buy a timeshare because they told you it was a great investment? That's a lie. Most timeshares can be bought online for $1. To find out what your timeshare is worth and to cancel it, call us today and we'll send you our timeshare exit kit free with all your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley for your free exit info guide. 800-790-1400. 800-790-1400.
KTH Parts Industries in St. Paris is now hiring for third shift stamping equipment support group. You'll have the opportunity to work with cutting-edge technology producing high-quality automotive components. Do you have this specialized skill in electrical and mechanical aptitude and a working knowledge of troubleshooting electrical units? We're looking for you. KTH offers excellent benefits, including medical, dental, and 401k. Apply today and be valued by a company that sincerely cares about you. Apply online at kth.net, an equal opportunity employer.
Indeed presents hires you can't afford to get wrong, like a hospitality manager at a 5-star hotel.
So I just checked into room 318, but someone was in there.
Room 318. Oh, you were supposed to be booked in 813, which is now booked.
So what do we do?
How about rock, paper, scissors for who gets the bed?
This is a job for sponsored jobs. This is what happens when you don't sponsor your job on Indeed. Next time, get matched with quality candidates with Indeed sponsored jobs. Visit Indeed.com/hire now and sponsor your job today.
Okay, class, let's begin.
Psst, love your boots. I just sold a pair like that on eBay.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it took like 2 seconds to list and they sold almost immediately. I've been selling everything lately. Some chunky boots, a faux fur coat I never wore, and a vintage chair that was more of an expensive clothing rack.
You know, I actually bought these on eBay. Wait, are you Kitty Sell Stuff from Brooklyn?
Okay, quiet, please.
Find what you love. Sell what you don't. eBay. Things people love.
Describing the delicious flavor of Lee's new famous wrap is tough, but we figured we'd give it a shot.
Imagine crispy, golden, fried to perfection chicken, drizzled with bold, peppery, beautifully balanced famous sauce, resting on a plush bed of succulent lettuce and sprinkled with cheese. It's like ordering delicious with a side of exquisite.
In other words, it's awesome. The famous wrap with new famous sauce. Only at Lee's. Famous for a reason.
Choose one of Wendy's new Biggie deals. For a pretty Biggie deal, gotta be Wendy's. U.S. price and participation may vary.
Oh, my house needs some help. It needs a new roof, new windows, and siding if I can afford it. I just don't know who to call. Your house is updated and looks so nice. Who does your work?
Buckeye Home Services does all my work. Their prices are affordable and they do a great job. Call 586-6600 for a free estimate. Buckeye does roofing, siding, gutters, leaf guards, windows, doors, patio covers, even kitchens and baths.
Sounds like they're the ones to call. What's that number again?
Buckeye Home Services, 586-6600.
$5,000 sign-on bonus. That's right. My friends at Cordell Transportation are now hiring experienced Class A CDL drivers with excellent work history. If that's you, apply now. Cordell Transportation offers home daily dedicated lanes, no-touch freight, and brand new equipment, plus a $5,000 sign-on bonus paid over 18 months, paid orientation, and company 401k with company match. Apply online at CordellTransportation.com. Cordell Transportation, driven to succeed.
Okay, I have to tell you, I was just looking on eBay where I go for all kinds of things I love, and there it was.
That hologram trading card. One of the rarest, the last one I needed for my set. Shiny like the
designer handbag of my dreams. One of a kind. eBay had it, and now everyone's asking, ooh, where'd you get your
windshield wipers? eBay has all the parts that fit my car. No more annoying, just beautiful.
Millions of finds, each with a story. eBay. Things people love.
Describing the delicious flavor of Lee's new famous wrap is tough, but we figured we'd give it a shot.
Imagine crispy, golden, fried to perfection chicken, drizzled with bold, peppery, beautifully balanced famous sauce, resting on a plush bed of succulent lettuce and sprinkled with cheese. It's like ordering delicious with a side of exquisite.
In other words, it's awesome. The famous wrap with new famous sauce. Only at Lee's. Famous for a reason.
Hi, this is Mike Foley, your Montgomery County Clerk of Courts. Due to recent demand, our office is now issuing boat registrations for your convenience. This new service will be available at our downtown Dayton auto title location. We can help with new boats, renewals, and also ownership changes. Go to weregisterboats.com for more info.
Kubota keeps the job site running smoothly with the #1 selling compact excavator lineup in the world. Reliable, capable, and backed by strong dealer support. Stop by today to power up your crew. Right now, bring home select Kubota excavators with 0% financing available or save up to $7,000. Now through June 30th. See us or go to KubotaUSA.com/disclaimer for full disclaimer.
Stop by Columbus Equipment Company in Columbus, Dayton, or Toledo to see our full line of Kubota construction equipment. Or check us out online at columbusequipment.com.
KTH Parts Industries in St. Paris is now hiring and has increased the hourly wage of $22.48. That's right. KTH is looking for elite production associates, including press operators, overhead crane operators, and forklift operators. Apply today. KTH offers excellent benefits, including medical, dental, and 401k. KTH is a short drive from Bellefonte, Troy, Piqua, and Urbana. Upgrade your career and be valued by a company that really cares about you. Apply now at kth.net, an equal opportunity employer.
You know, I used to think all money managers were the same until I spoke with Fisher Investments.
Really? How different are they?
Fisher's investment counselors are dedicated to service, not sales, keeping clients up to date on their portfolio.
Well, they probably just invest in a bunch of mutual funds like I do.
Nope. They build a tailored portfolio based on their clients' personal goals, helping them stay on track for a comfortable retirement.
Well, they must make commissions selling products.
Actually, Fisher doesn't sell any commission-based products. They're a fiduciary, and they believe that's a conflict.
Then they have some kind of complex fee structure.
Nope. Fisher has a simple, transparent fee that's a percentage of their client's portfolio. So they do better when their clients do better.
It sounds like Fisher really is different.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Fisher Investments, clearly different wealth management. Learn more at fisherinvestments.com/different. Investing in securities involves the risk of loss.
Hello, it's John Kozik, founder and president of TurboTrack Realty, and I buy real estate as is, fast for cash. Call me today for an all-cash offer on any of your properties, and we can close within days at 614-470-2000, 614-470-2000. Do you own a property that's outdated and needs thousands of dollars in repair? Great, I'll buy it. Give us a call today for an all-cash offer at 614-470-2000, 614-470-2000. Would it be convenient for you if you could simply take what you wanted and leave the rest behind? Great, I'll buy it. I buy vacant properties, inherited homes, divorce situations, death in the family, apartment buildings, commercial properties. I even buy my tenants won't pay me the rent houses. Visit us today at turbotrackrealty.com or give us a call and speak with one of our friendly staff members at 614-470-2000, 614-470-2000.
Now, back to the Justin Kinner Show, right here on ESPN Dayton, 1410 Wing AM.
All right, it's 3:51 here in the Miami Valley. We're wrapping up hour number 1. It's the Justin Kinner Show, Dayton's only local sports talk show. You can hang out with me each and every weekday from 3 to 5. Trying to be positive about the Reds. A 12-0 win last night over the Mets. Keith Tolliver, who's a Cardinals fan, messaged, again, you can listen to the show, obviously, here on 1410 Wing AM, wherever you stream your radio stations, of course, and then you can watch us live on the Justin Kinner Show YouTube channel and the Justin Kinner Show Facebook page. So Keith is on the Justin Kinner Show Facebook page. Keith Tolliver says, the Reds have pitching. Most of these other teams don't have that at all. Talking about the Cardinals, of course. And what he's talking about, like these other teams don't, these other teams that he's referencing, the other teams that are in the wild card picture right now. The Reds win last night. They moved up. They made up a game last night, 3 games back of a playoff spot. I don't like them being back at all. This is a team that was, comfortably in that playoff picture. I don't like that as, yesterday when they were 4 games back, that's the furthest back that they have been in the playoff conversation when it comes to the wild card all season. We know that they've dug themselves already a heavy hole over in the Central because they're 10 games. I think they're 10 games back now after that win last night. But I would love them to get back into the conversation of the division. I don't think that's going to happen. I think this is where they're going to live. I think that they've dug themselves too big of a hole. I don't think that they're going to be able to dig themselves out comfortably. I think that it's going to come down to these teams right here. And when I think of the Cardinals, there's nothing that they do at a level that I'm extremely afraid of. All right. The same thing with the Nationals, with the Diamondbacks. I think, the Cubs would worry me. I think the Phillies and Padres. I think that the Phillies, Cubs, and, the Phillies, the Cubs, and the Padres, from a roster construction standpoint, I think that those teams are more, equipped than some of these others. But even those 3 teams right there, I'll take the Reds starting pitching over any of theirs. Obviously consistent run production has been an issue for the Reds, no doubt about it. But at the same time, it's been the same way for a lot of those other teams as well. I mean, the Phillies have a -23 run differential. All right. Same thing with, the Padres, they have a negative run differential. The Diamondbacks have a negative run differential. And even the teams that have a positive run differential, okay, we're talking about the Cubs. The Cubs are +9, and their pitching is not great. It's not as if that this team has just been absolutely, producing run after run after run. I mean, the Reds have scored 293 runs on the season. The Cubs have scored 329. I mean, I know that it's more than the Reds, but it's not like an astronomical number. I don't think, you know what I mean? Like the Cubs, they have cooled off offensively, at a high rate. I mean, the Cardinals are sitting at 319 total runs on the season. All right. We're talking about, just 20 plus runs more than the Reds. Same thing with the Cubs. I'm not saying that's a good thing. I'm just saying it's not as if these other teams are just absolutely bearing the Reds in run production. That's not the case at all. For all these lineups that are so much better than the Reds, it's like, okay, well, we're talking some teams are sitting from 10 to 20 runs more total on the season. That's a big deal. But I also know, okay, that when you look at the fact that the Reds, all right, they're, as far as the runs that they have given up, all right, their starting pitching has been way more dominant than anybody else's as far as that's concerned. And I think that that's going to be something to keep an eye on. The Reds -58 run differential. That's a problem that needs to be addressed. But I think a lot of that has to do with a lot of key injuries. Suarez has only played in about 40 of the Reds' 70 games up to this point, missing 30 games. If he doesn't, miss time due to injury, how much different does this team look? Ellie has missed a lot of games. It doesn't surprise me that this team has just absolutely disappeared. They weren't great offensively with them in the lineup, but they were capable since he's left. They had nothing. They had no Suarez for a while, no Ellie in that lineup for a while. That's not, even with both of those in there, many believe over 162 game season, not enough to get it done. But the Phillies, you look at the Nationals aren't scary. The Diamondbacks aren't scary. The Marlins, Pirates aren't scary. The Nationals, the Padres, none of these teams are scary. The Reds have the starting pitching, and I think that's what Keith Tolliver was referencing. The Reds have pitching. Most of these other teams do not. They don't have that at all. The Reds do. From that standpoint, bullpen needs to get healthy though. Bullpen needs to get healthy at all. They need to get healthy is all. That's really what this is going to come down to more than anything. Brady Singer going to be on the mound tonight for the Reds as they look to take the series. You look at the Reds' recent struggles. They haven't won a series since beating the Mets. They took 2 or 3 in, against the Mets in New York. 2.5 weeks ago. They lost to the Braves. They lost that series. They lost the Royals series. They got swept by the Cardinals, lost the Padres, lost the Diamondback series. They have a chance to win the series tonight and snap that 6-series losing streak here at Great American Ballpark, and maybe, again, come within another game of a playoff spot when it's all said and done. I do want to switch over to the NFL. Right now, a lot of talk today. So a lot has kind of transpired in the college football NFL world as both of those worlds have kind of merged due to the news that, well, Brendan Sorsby, he's now going to the NFL supplemental draft. He will not play for Texas Tech. He will not play college football. His college football career has come to an end. They could put that noise and mess behind him, talking about Texas Tech and college football in the Big 12. But Sorsby's name is, well, we're not done talking about it because I don't know where people's opinion on him lies as far as how good of a quarterback he could be. But right now, there's a lot of teams who need a quarterback that will have a chance to get a quarterback that some say is good enough to be in the first round, top 10 next year. Now going to be made readily available through the supplemental draft coming up here in the, very soon. Could he be a Cleveland Brown? All right. Could he be a Pittsburgh Steeler? Where could Sorsby end up? Browns fans, curious your thoughts. Would it be a surprise? I don't think it'd be a surprise or a shocker at all if the Browns kick the tires on this, and it sounds like they have. We'll get to all of that and more when we come back. Hour number 2 of the Justin Kinner Show when we come back.
When traffic slows you down, pain can make the ride feel even longer. With just one pill, Aleve provides up to 12 hours of pain relief, so you can put pain in the rear view. Use as directed.
Hello, it's John Kozik, founder and president of TurboTrack Realty, and I buy real estate as is fast for cash. Give us a call today for an all-cash offer at 614-470-2000, 614-470-2000. I buy vacant properties, inherited homes, divorce situations, death in the family, apartment buildings, commercial properties. I even buy my tenants won't pay me the rent houses. Give us a call today for an all-cash offer at 614-470-2000, 614-470-2000.
Meet Keith. He runs a 30-acre ranch. 8 years ago, his knees started giving out.
Climbing a ladder was almost impossible. If I could get down, I have to have something next to me to get up.
Keith's wife had a knee replacement. The recovery was hard and the results, not great. Keith wanted another way.
I won't go under the knife because I believe the body can do whatever it needs to do to heal itself.
Surgery wasn't the answer. QC Kinetics was. They're regenerative treatments. No surgery, no long recovery.
After the first one, the inflammation dropped 90%. Today, my knees are just amazing. I could not do what I've done if I had not gotten treatments to QC Kinetics. I just pray that my physical model continues to go and help other people.
Maybe that's you. Tired of dealing with the joint pain? Call QC Kinetics for your free consultation today.
Call QC Kinetics, 937-936-0325. That's 937-936-0325. 937-936-0325.
Dayton's radio home for Buckeyes football. 1410 WING. Dayton's ESPN Radio. You want hot takes?
No, I'm not going to apologize to Ryan Day. Everything we said about Ryan Day up into the playoffs was true.
Not bad. Come on, Kenner. You can do better than that.
To be fair, of all the elite quarterbacks in the NFL, Joe Burrow is the least accomplished.
Getting better.
1,000,000%. I 1,000,000% believe that the Dayton Flyers are afraid of the Wright State Raiders. That's why they come up with every excuse in the book not to play them.
There it is. The hottest take of them all. It's the Justin Kinner Show, presented by Frickers, live on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Frickers, your home for fun food, sports, and spirits, of course. That's our sponsor. It's the Justin Kinner Show, presented by Frickers, as we just talked about. Hour number 2, the Reds. Finally, a show where we can be positive about the Reds. But, of course, you have your regular cast of characters, the David Shaws and the Ron Howards and the AJs of the world, who are trying to rain on the Reds parade. I'm going to take small victories when we can. And I don't even mean the actual win last night. I just mean the performances from the cast of guys that you expect to have big games, when it's all said and done. I want to get to the NFL in a second, but I do want to rehash what we talked a lot about in that first hour. If you're just joining us, welcome. The Reds get a 12-0 shutout win last night over the Mets in Game 1. And I said this in the first hour. So I feel last night's win was just different to me because of the way that the Reds did it. I do not expect the Reds to win 12-0 every night. Okay. I don't expect Suarez to have 2 home runs, 6 RBIs, including a grand slam every night. I don't expect any of that. But I have seen wins in recent weeks where even after the win, it's like, yeah, well, the Reds aren't going to win a lot of games when you have too many of your top guys not swinging the bat well, and you're getting, Noave Marte night where he pops off. But we just know that you can't rely on Noave Marte. He has never proven that he could be a guy that you can consistently rely on in that lineup. The one thing about Sal Stewart is we know what we get with Sal Stewart. We know what we get with Eugenio Suarez. We know it when Ellie comes back. He was playing at an MVP-like level before he left. We know what we get with him. JJ Bleday has just been, phenomenal. And it's not this has been a veteran guy that has played like this at this level, in his previous stop, of course, but injuries and other things have kind of derailed that. So, but the Reds get him cheap. He comes here and he's had a phenomenal first half of the season. And last night, what I saw was Chase Burns go out, improve to 8-1, and just do what he's done all season. All right. Be phenomenal. Be great. Suarez last night. Oh my gosh. You haven't been able to rely on that. I think you have been able to rely on the Suarez home run throughout his career. I don't think he needs to apologize to anyone's feelings that he hurt because he got hurt. All right. He got hurt and he's starting to warm up. He's been slow in previous seasons as far as that's concerned at getting going. He usually takes off and he has a big, burst once the weather starts warming up and all this stuff heading into the June, July months. This is usually when he catches fire. That's what they discussed in the post game with Jim Day last night. Suarez you're seeing Suarez pop off the way that he did. Bleday do what he's been doing, right? Sal Stewart contributing and getting on base. Everything that you expect based on what we knew about this team coming in. I expected this season the big things from Sal Stewart, Eugenio Suarez. I expected those things from this team. Bleday was brought in to do what he did last night, right? I expected that. As far as that's concerned. So when it's all said and done, I didn't see anything last night that was like, yeah, well, you can't count on that every single night because that's just not who the Reds are. I think that as this team gets healthier and comes together, Ellie's going to be back soon. Hunter Green's going to be back soon. You're going to get, of course, continue to add those pieces that have been out injured that have played a role in this team's demise. I think that's going to be a huge perk and a huge plus. These other teams haven't had that. But last night, I felt great about that. Well, watching what the Reds were able to do last night, Stevenson, 2 for 4 last night. You know what he could do with the bat in his hand. You know what Suarez can do. You know what Stewart can do. You now know what Bleday can do. Last night, that's how the Reds are supposed to look and how we've seen them look. Getting Ellie back soon, getting Hunter Green soon, Graham Ashcraft soon, Pagan soon. And that's why everyone out there that's talking about how horrible this team is. Yes, when you take a team that was expected to be good because of their good players and you take those good players off, that team's no longer as good. So being negative without using common sense does not make any sense to me when it's all said and done. Still be frustrated, still be upset, but to sit there and say, this team just sucks. What was the front office thinking? The front office didn't roll this roster out there. This roster has been decimated by injuries. And when you have injuries and you get guys back, and Suarez has been able to ease back since returning and now starting to look comfortable, and everyone's mad because he hasn't been hitting home runs at the pace of which we've seen in seasons past. The guy's been injured. He's coming back. He's getting, acclimated, getting comfortable. And he has not been hitting the long ball, but to act like he hasn't been hitting the ball at all. He has hits in 8 of his previous 10 games. Last night finally pops off as far as the home run's concerned. I don't know what else. Like I said, last night, I think it's the start of him starting to get hot and take off. And if he does start swinging the bat like that with the way Bleday's been playing, which has put him in the all-star conversation, of course, with what they've been getting from Sal Stewart, with Ellie De La Cruz, his return on the horizon, I think that this team they're not even out of anything. They might be out of the division. They're not out of the wild card picture. If anything, they're the only team when you look at all the teams in the hunt that have a surge of talent coming back into the conversation. So I'm not going to be negative. I'm going to look at this with glass half full and not glass half empty like everyone else is. I talked about it a little bit ago. I think it was AJ. AJ texted into the show and said it's a big overreaction on my part. Even a blind squirrel finds a nut once in a while. I don't think that's what last night was. Last night was not a blind squirrel finding a nut. Oh my God, Suarez hit a home. He all of a sudden he has power. That's not a blind squirrel finding a nut. That's what Suarez was brought here to do. Bleday hits a home run. Oh my God, a blind squirrel found a nut. No, that's not a blind squirrel finding a nut. That's what Bleday's been doing all season. 13th home run of the season. That's not a blind squirrel finding a nut. That's what Bleday's been doing all freaking season. Sal Stewart driving in a run, scoring some runs, getting on base. That's not a blind squirrel finding a nut. That's what he's been doing all season. That's what he's been doing since he's been called up. Tyler Stevenson, same thing. Like, oh, Chase Burns, phenomenal outing from him. No, he's 8-1. That's not a blind squirrel finding a nut. That's what the hell he does. So, no, I disagree that this is not a blind squirrel finding a nut. That is why I felt good about last night's win, is because guys did what they were supposed to, and that's what they've been doing. And when you put it all together, that's what you get. And as this team continues to get healthy, you're going to see more and more of it. The other layer to AJ's text, and you can text into the show as well, by the way, 937-518-1410. Okay. Right now, I'm looking at this as, and he weighed in and said, well, it's the Mets who hasn't taken them to the woodshed. I completely agree. The Mets have been getting beat up a lot. But guess what the Reds have also been doing? Getting beat up by these types of teams. They've been getting beat up by these types of teams. I had shared this in the previous, in the previous hour. But, the Kansas City Royals, who took 2 or 3 from the Reds, they were 3-7 in their previous 10 games. Took 2 or 3 from the Reds. The Cardinals, the Padres, and the Diamondbacks. All 3 of those teams were 2-8 in their previous 10 games at the start of the Reds series. All 3 of those teams defeated the Reds. And the Mets were actually 6-4. They were starting to play better baseball, and they get shut out 12-0. And again, it's one game. I get that. But to sit here and act like, well, everyone does this to them. Well, a lot of teams were beating up on the Padres, Cardinals, and Royals and Diamondbacks as well. And they beat up on the Reds. But last night, you're starting to see Suarez get more comfortable, and he talked about that in the postgame. He said he's starting to get more comfortable. I'm just saying. I'm not saying this team's winning a World Series. I'm not guaranteeing that they're going to win the division or even make the playoffs, but this team's not out of it, and I like what this team has compared to what most of the other teams in the race have right now. I think that what they have actually it suits them more for the long-term race to get into the playoffs than some of these other teams, who I think some of those other weaknesses can catch up with those other teams more than the Reds at this point. As far as that goes. Shaw says, I agree. You are right. He's batting .217 in the month of June. Are you talking about Suarez? Again, now we're shrinking numbers down just to fit whatever. But I also know that Suarez has been hitting safely in more games than not. I get that average could be a little bit higher, but I mean, it's not as if anyone, using a batting average as far as that goes to tell one story, whenever I've talked about all the games that he has been able to reach base safely in, Suarez is not one of those guys that if he doesn't hit a home run, he's not contributing. He's contributing. He's getting on base. All right. The Reds aren't, they're not deep. They're not drawing in a ton of runs. I get that, but that's what I'm waiting for as far as that's concerned when it's all said and done. Beating up on Suarez, I don't understand that. This was a huge get in the offseason. All right. And last night, that wasn't a blind squirrel finding a nut. That's what Suarez does. That's what he was brought here to do. And we'll see if the Reds can keep it going moving forward. Shaw, thanks for holding, man. You're live, sir.
How you doing, bud?
Another day in paradise. Don't have any days where I could be excited about what the Reds looked like the night before, so I'm going to take advantage of it today.
I'll give you that. I mean, it looked good. It was nice to see, but I guess I'll be the devil's advocate here. I'm not getting too excited about it.
I mean, you never do.
No, I don't, because this team doesn't give me anything to be excited about. They'll give you one shot here and there, or actually this year I'll meet you halfway. They gave you a month.
You mean when they were healthy?
Then they see, you talk about the health part of it.
That matters.
I was going to bring this up later on. You bring up the Ellie side of it, and he's missed 13 games.
Mm-hmm.
13. Mm-hmm. You make it sound like he's missed an entire month.
Mm-hmm.
He was there when they started playing horrible in May, in case you forgot.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, all you want, and act like you don't know what I'm talking about.
I know what the hell you're talking about, but if your argument is Ellie being out doesn't matter, I don't know how much longer I'm going to continue this conversation.
That Ellie doesn't matter, but you're making it into a bigger deal than what it is.
You cannot argue that Ellie being out is not a big deal. How can you act like that is not a big deal?
He's missed 13 of 71 games. He's played majority of the games. You want to go with the injury conversation?
This team can't afford to have him out for any games. That's a big deal.
Injuries are going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So we go back to December.
And they have, and it matters.
You go back to December before even Reds Fest when you and I were sitting there talking, and I said, what are they going to do about depth, and we're going to talk about injuries. You said, we'll talk about injuries when we talk about injuries.
And the injuries have happened. We're talking about it. This team's not as good because of the injuries.
Why have they fallen off the face of the earth? Because they have no depth.
They were never good. This team will never have depth. Ever.
Then that's the failure of the front office.
But that's every mid-major franchise. That's right or wrong.
Every mid-major franchise.
It is.
That's where you're wrong.
I'm not wrong.
That's where you're wrong.
I'm not.
You are wrong.
I'm not.
The Indians, the Guardians, the Rays. Shall I continue? The Pirates. They're doing fine.
The Pirates are 36 and 37. They're fine. How are the Pirates fine? They're 36 and 37. How are they fine?
They're above you.
But they're not fine.
They're above you.
Uh-huh.
You have to beat them to get to the wild card.
I thought you were a Reds fan. You were Mr. Reds fan, and now it's you. Now it's distancing language. You're no longer a Reds fan, huh?
Come on, man. Trying to have an actual conversation with you about something that matters, and you're trying to turn it into something because you can't stand on anything.
I mean, you said that the Pirates have
ahead of you, and you're talking about the wild card, and the Pirates are ahead of you in the wild card, and you're
Healthy.
1-7 against the Pirates. You haven't beat the Cardinals all year long, and you're talking about the wild card, and they just swept you.
Yeah, the Reds swept the Yankees last year. No one thought that the Reds were better than the Yankees.
All these teams you're talking about, you can't beat. I'm not talking about the Yankees or the Red Sox or all these other teams. I'm talking about teams in your division that you're 2-14 against.
Mm-hmm.
And you had Ellie for majority of those games.
Mm-hmm.
So what other excuse are you going to give?
There's no excuses. We're talking about that now. And by the way, according to Shaw, the Reds should just cut Ellie because they don't need him. Who cares, right? Like,
That's not what I said.
But you're saying him being out doesn't matter.
Just like the Josh Allen conversation, it wouldn't work.
I can't believe you're bringing up that. That was embarrassing for you too.
No, it wasn't embarrassing for me. Why don't you go listen to some national media and they talk about Josh Allen the same way I do?
I don't think that they
kind of the same way. Same way you talk about Joe Burrow.
Can we just stay on the Reds here?
Yeah, we can stay on topic where you're getting your tail whipped today.
I don't think anyone would take your side on this.
You have no idea what you're talking about. None.
You say that Ellie being out hasn't mattered, and I have no clue what the hell I'm talking about?
It's mattered for 13 games out of 71. You act like the majority has been out. Suarez, that's actually even more of a – I can go on your side on that one because he's almost missed half the games this year. Ellie, no. He's missed 13 of 51. And he'll be back by the end of the weekend or next weekend.
13 of 51, but how many series and games have they lost in that stretch that he's been out that he could have definitely made a big difference in? All of them.
They were
not saying they would have won all of those
stretches before he got hurt.
Okay, you're right. Ellie sucks. Him being out doesn't matter. My bad. Okay, continue. What else? Next.
Ellie sucks. I didn't say Ellie sucks. I never did. That's you saying that I said it. Ellie, yes. Out of the okay, I'll meet you. Out of the 13 games, you're right. Ellie could have probably done all kinds of things, and he would have hit the cycle 6 out of the 13 games, and he would have thrown out 14 guys from left field, and the Reds would have won all 13 games. Does that make you feel better?
There you go.
Does that make you feel better?
Much
it's not
better.
true. Just like me saying that the Reds were horrible before Ellie got hurt.
They weren't horrible before he got hurt. They weren't horrible before he got hurt. Look, the whole point of all of this is using the point is coming into the season, we had expectations for this team to be a lot more competitive than they are. And that roster that put us in position to have those expectations, that roster is just not going out there every single night. So getting all our blood pressure up like yourself right now with expectations, that's not fair to have the same. It's not fair to have the same expectations for the team that's being trotted out every single night right now for the team that we thought would be coming out back in late March into April.
I'll use your numbers. They were 20-11 in April, and then they went 11 and they won 14 and 35 cents. Okay.
So all these other, again, the Reds are 3 games back. They're right there in the mix with all these other teams who are also doing a lot of bad things while healthy.
They're 1-7. They're 1-7 against the Pirates.
Yeah.
They haven't beat the Cardinals.
You just keep going on to the next thing. I get that. They're not winning this division, so who gives a damn? I mean, I give a damn, but I don't give a damn because they're not winning this division. Uh-huh.
They're all ahead of you in the wild card,
Yeah,
too.
they are. Yes, they are.
Yeah. So in order to make the wild card, you're going to have to beat the teams ahead of you. So in order to beat the teams ahead of you, you might want to change the 1-7 record. You might want to change the 1-8 record against the or 1-4 record against the Cardinals. You might want to change the record where you can't beat the Nationals. You might want to change the whole thing about how you can't beat anybody in the National League. Okay, congratulations, you beat the Mets. The Mets aren't making they're not making the wild card. They're not going to win the NL East. They're not going to make the playoffs. Congratulations, you beat the Mets. You want a cookie for it? You haven't even played the best team in the Central yet. There's going to probably be 2 or 3 losses.
So with all of this, you're talking, and yes, the Reds have stunk against teams in the Central, but with all of that, Shaw, the Cardinals, all right, the Cardinals have only 5 more total wins on the season. They're not pulling away from the Reds. The Pittsburgh Pirates have 2 more total wins. In fact, they're only a game ahead of the Reds in that playoff picture. So this idea that, oh my God, the Reds have no chance because all these other teams are so much better than them, but yet they're right there in the mix with all those other teams, with the Marlins and the Diamondbacks and the Nationals and everybody else. The Cardinal, no one's pulling away from everyone. The Brewers, that's it. Every single other team, they all have their flaws as well, which is what has allowed the Reds to stay in it. And the Reds have stayed in it even without Ellie, without Hunter Green, without Emilio Pagan, without a lot of their main contributors that put them in position to be one of the favorites coming in to this season. They're going to get those guys back, all right? These other teams are letting the Reds hang around while they're healthy, while the Reds are not healthy. As the Reds get healthy and they're going to get an MVP caliber player back and a Cy Young pitcher back, and a guy in Emilio Pagan who was not great to start the season, but they did bring him back, and it was a good thing that they brought him back. And I know he needs to be pitching better, but he was a great pitcher last year. I have no problem with it. They're getting talent back. Graham Ashcraft, they're getting strong pieces back, while these other teams are going to be about the same as what they are right now. So yes, I do feel good about the fact that the Reds have been able to weather the storm without all of these pieces and are going to be getting pieces back, including an MVP caliber player and a Cy Young. But yes, I feel good about where the Reds are at, all things considered.
I wish I was smoking what you're smoking. I really do. I mean, yes, they're 3 games ahead of you already, and that's because they beat you 7 out of the 8 games they played you. Yes, they're only 5 games better than you because they beat you 4 out of the 5 times they beat you. That they played you. Congratulations. They can't beat anybody else apparently, but they can beat you, which is the important part. If you can't beat them, you're never going to overcome them in the wild card race. That's the part of it I guess you can't fathom here.
I can fathom it. I don't think you. Yeah, I'm hanging up on you. You're annoying the hell out of me. Here's the thing. Yes, they have not done well against those teams at all, but can they get healthy, please? The Reds can't beat this team. Yes, the Reds that aren't healthy can't beat these teams. I get that. That's not a shocker. An unhealthy Reds team is not having success. I get that. But the Reds have found a way to tread water. They're right here in the mix still. And they're about to get Ellie back. They're about to get Hunter Green back. Emilio Pagan back. They're going to get Graham Ashcraft back. Suarez is going to start heating up. And we saw that last night. Sal Stewart's been phenomenal. JJ Bleday has been he's in the all-star conversation. This team has a lot of opportunity and a lot of pieces that aren't on the roster right now, and they're only going to make this team better when they get here. This isn't like, I'm not sitting here saying it's no big deal that they haven't beat the NL Central, but it's not as if the final product hasn't beat teams in the NL Central. And I have no faith that they are going to win the NL Central. They're not going to win the NL Central. And I get what people are saying. To get to the wild card, all the teams in the Central are still in the mix there. Teams like the Cubs, who they haven't beat. All right, the Cardinals, who just beat up and swept the Reds. The Pirates, who they only have 1 win against. I completely get that. But that's the unhealthy Reds team who hasn't been full go with all their main players. Can they get some of those guys back before we start saying that the season is over? That's what I'm trying to say. Is I'm not losing all these NL Central games. Bad. Agreed. I'm not saying otherwise. But I'm also not going to sit here. Well, they have no chance the rest of the way. Well, hold on. Context matters. Why have they lost a lot of these games in these series whenever they're not full go? For that last caller to call in and sit there and say, well, they weren't very good with Ellie De La Cruz. So what? Getting him back isn't going to make that has no impact whatsoever? Getting bullpen pieces back, that's not going to have any impact whatsoever. Getting Hunter Green back, that's not going to have any impact whatsoever. I mean, come on. Charles Downs. Charles, hope you're well. Charles, it's been a while. Charles says the problem is for you to make the playoffs. Not only do you need to somehow get fixed and start winning more than losing, but the Pirates, Marlins, Diamondbacks, Cubs, Nationals, Padres, Phillies, and St. Louis need to also lose. But Charles, they've been losing. That's why the Reds are in this spot. Who's winning? Who's winning right now? I mean, the Padres are 37-34. The Reds are 34-37. You know, the Nationals are 38-35, 34-37 for the Reds. 37-35 is the Diamondbacks. Reds are 34-37. The Reds have hurt themselves, yes, because a lot of these teams they've lost to that they're in the mix with, but even with losing to all those teams, losing all these NL Central games, they're still only 3 games back. In a win tonight, they're 2 games back. And guess what? They're still beat up. They're still unhealthy, and they're still getting pieces back coming up. So as the Reds are going to, these other teams have to, because they're inability, yes, they've done their job beating the Reds, but they have not been able to do their job by beating other teams consistently enough to pull away. You should have buried the Reds. Like the Brewers in the Central, they've buried the Reds in that division. They haven't buried them when it comes to the wild card. But Charles, no, I get what you're saying. I'm not saying you're wrong because, the Reds have had opportunities against all these teams. And I said that stretch was so important because the Reds had to beat the Padres. They had to take care of business against the Diamondbacks. And, you look in those teams, those series losses are brutal. They're just as brutal as losing those series to the NL Central teams. But the thing is, you're 3 games back. 3 games back. And you're without Hunter Green, you're without Ellie De La Cruz, you're without Amelia Pagan, you're without Graham Ashcraft, and you're getting all those pieces back. You have Caleb Ferguson back, and you have Pierce Johnson. You're getting some guys back that are finally starting to see this roster be able to start to use a lot of the main pieces that they were expected to be able to use coming into the season. We can all agree the Reds have not been great, but to sit here and just say, well, they haven't been good, this team sucks, and not use any context in the conversation whatsoever, that's kind of, nah. And even with this team's, and by the way, they get completely healthy and they continue on this track and they still can't score runs and they still can't, and they're still blowing saves late in games and no one's doing that's a completely different conversation. But if this team's losing games with Hunter Green and Chase Burns and Nick Lodolo and Rhett Lauder, right? And Brady Singer and Andrew Abbott, and you have a healthy Pierce Johnson, you have a healthy Caleb Ferguson and a healthy Graham Ashcraft and a healthy Amelia Pagan, and you have a full go of it, and you're still losing games, by all means, I can yell louder than Shaw. But to be so angry about a team that it's not the same team we had expectations for coming in roster-wise right now, I mean, my goodness, what are we doing? Last night was a huge win. I don't care that it's against the bad Mets teams because of everything you've just told me, you are correct. They haven't been beating the bad teams. Well, they beat up on a bad team last night, and they're going to beat up on the Mets coming up later on tonight. And then when we crack the airwaves on Thursday, because the Reds will play during my show tomorrow, when the Reds, take 2 or 3 or sweep the Mets. And any of you going to call? No, you're going to call on Thursday and be like, well, I'm not impressed because it was just the Mets. Well, you were pissed off because you lost to the bad Diamondbacks and you lost to the bad Cardinals, and the Cardinals are actually playing good baseball now. You lost to the bad Padres. You lost to these bad teams. It's the end of the world. But you beat them, and it's no big deal. So you can't be one extreme one way and no extreme on the other. It has to be somewhere in the middle. And the middle for me is last night. It's not about the Mets, the Diamondbacks, the Padres, the Cardinals division at this point. The Reds just got to focus on themselves. Suarez has to, because it's not a team thing, it's about the Reds. Suarez has to start swinging a more consistent bat. Blade got to continue doing his thing. Sal Stewart's been phenomenal for a rookie. Ellie needs to hurry up and get back. All right, McClain needs to be sent to Louisville. For the love of goodness, what are we doing here? I mean, come on. Pagan needs to get back. Graham Ashcraft needs to get back. This team needs to get healthy, no doubt about it. But I'm not going to sit here and say that, oh my gosh, this team is just complete ass because they've been, as if this team has not just been riddled with injuries. Anyways, but is what it is. And Charles, yes, he says San Diego probably going to add at the deadline per usual. They will. And like the Padres, to me, I think Padres fans should be more their team has talent. The Mets, who are absolutely horrible right now, that's a team that spends a ton of money and they are bad. They have talent all up and down the lineup and roster, and they are bad. Like I think that's more embarrassing, being the Mets losing with all that money spent and with all that talent, than the Reds, who don't have a lot of money to spend and are beat up with injuries. And we're more mad at I mean, come on. Justin Smith, thanks a lot, Kenner. Now Shaw is going to go. Come on. It's the Justin Kenner Show, 1410 ESPN Radio. But yeah, Shaw, I said Ellie being out is a big deal. He said the Reds were bad with them and they've been bad without him. So apparently Ellie being out doesn't matter. I can't get on board with that. You're not going to convince me that Ellie's absence has not played a role in the Reds' recent struggles. Bullpen, does he improve the bullpen? No, but again, all the runners that have been left stranded throughout these series that they've lost, 5-6 straight series losses. Ellie doesn't give you one more pop, 1-2 more runs throughout a series. Don't tell me that he would not have had any kind of impact on these series. Shaw said, yeah, that's what I said. That is, you didn't say that, you didn't come out verbally and say Ellie doesn't matter. But when I say Ellie's absence is actually a big deal and you say, no, it's not, how is that you not saying it though? Oh, Ellie was bad. They're bad with them. They're bad without him. Him being out hasn't really been a factor. You're right. A guy that's in the MVP conversation when he was rolling right there, him being out's not a factor. What are you talking about? It's the Justin Kinner Show here on a Tuesday, right? Yeah, it's a Tuesday. 427 here in the Miami Valley. 937-518-1410. We'll be right back.
ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
Today, a mix of clouds and sun during the morning will give way to cloudy skies this afternoon, a high of 78. Tonight, a few clouds rolling through, a low of 58 degrees. And tomorrow, for your Wednesday, partly cloudy skies during the morning hours will give way to occasional showers in the afternoon, high of 78. I'm Adam Selleck for 1410 ESPN Radio.
A is for ABS, B is for BCM, C is for CBT, D is for, don't worry, we're not going to quiz you, because at Carroll Wirtz Tire, we know the auto industry is full of acronyms. But here's the one that matters the most, tire. Trust, integrity, reliability, expertise. Carroll Wirtz Tire, keeping Dayton rolling from A to Z. Find us online at c-wtire.com or talk to a real human at 937-461-5441.
Liberty Mutual customizes your auto and home insurance so you only pay for what you need. Brought to you by Liberty Mutual Insurance.
Liberty, 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 liberty. KTH Parts Industries in St. Paris is now hiring and has increased the hourly wage of $22.48. That's right. KTH is looking for elite production associates, including press operators, overhead crane operators, and forklift operators. Apply today. KTH offers excellent benefits, including medical, dental, and 401k. KTH is a short drive from Bellefonte, Troy, Piqua, and Urbana. Upgrade your career and be valued by a company that really cares about you. Apply now at kth.net, an equal opportunity employer.
Oh, my house needs some help. It needs a new roof, new windows, and siding if I can afford it. I just don't know who to call. Your house is updated and looks so nice. Who does your work?
Buckeye Home Services does all my work. Their prices are affordable and they do a great job. Call 586-6600 for a free estimate. Buckeye does roofing, siding, gutters, leaf guards, windows, doors, patio covers, even kitchens and baths.
Sounds like they're the ones to call. What's that number again?
Buckeye Home Services, 586-6600.
Swing by Frickers today and treat yourself to our irresistible ribs and chunks special. Enjoy tender, saucy ribs grilled to perfection, paired with your choice of frickin' chicken chunks, boneless wings, or traditional wings, plus homemade slaw, your favorite side, and a roll, all for just $16.99. Don't forget, kids eat free all day, every day at Frickers. So bring the whole family for great food, family fun, and all the sports action you crave. At your home for fun, food, sports, and spirits, Frickers.
For adults with Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis symptoms, every choice matters. Tremfya offers self-injection or intravenous infusion from the start. Tremfya is administered as injections under the skin or infusions through a vein every 4 weeks, followed by injections under the skin every 4 or 8 weeks. If your doctor decides that you can self-inject Tremfya, proper training is required. Tremfya is a prescription medicine used to treat adults with moderately to severely active Crohn's disease and adults with moderately to severely active ulcerative colitis. Serious allergic reactions, increased risk of infections or lower ability to fight them, and liver problems may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, flu-like symptoms, or need a vaccine. Explore what's possible. Ask your doctor about Tremfya today. Call 1-800-526-7736 to learn more or visit tremfyaradio.com.
Jake from State Farm. I just beat my running PR, so I'm celebrating with the Banana Bonanza smoothie.
Hey, and you can keep celebrating when you create an affordable price just for you by bundling your home and auto with the State Farm Personal Price Plan. Go bananas.
I will. Hey, make it a large.
Bundling, just another way to save with the Personal Price Plan. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Prices are based on rating plans that vary by state. Coverage options are selected by the customer. Availability, amount of discounts and savings, and eligibility vary by state.
This is the story of the one. As a maintenance engineer at a beverage manufacturing plant, he starts his day knowing every line is ready to run because Grainger delivers the industrial-grade products he needs to keep mixers, conveyors, and packaging equipment moving. With Grainger's vast selection of bearings, belts, and motors, he keeps operations running smoothly, so nothing grinds to a halt. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
When you can't see, you can't react. Too many railroad crossings have deadly sight obstructions that block drivers' views of oncoming trains. When you can't see the train, you can't react in time. These tragedies are preventable. Clearing vegetation and installing gates saves lives. Report bad railroad crossings at angelsontrack.org. That's angelsontrack.org. Because bad crossings kill good drivers. Sponsored by Angels on Track, aired by OAB and this station.
Planning to buy a home in 2026? Not sure where to start? The Ohio Housing Finance Agency can help. With a step-by-step homebuyer's guide and financial tools, the Ohio Housing Finance Agency can make homeownership part of your future. Eligible homebuyers may qualify for down payment assistance and reduced mortgage interest rates. To see if you qualify and to find a mortgage lender, visit myohiohome.org.
Shop the Sherwin-Williams sale and get 30% off Super Paint, Super Deck, and Woodscapes products June 12th through the 22nd. Whether you're refreshing your interior or exterior, we've got the colors to bring your vision to life. And with delivery, getting everything to your door is easier than ever. Shop online to have it delivered or visit your neighborhood Sherwin-Williams store. Retail sales only. Some exclusions apply. See store for details. Delivery available on qualifying orders.
This is the story of the one. As a maintenance engineer at a beverage manufacturing plant, he starts his day knowing every line is ready to run because Grainger delivers the industrial-grade products he needs to keep mixers, conveyors, and packaging equipment moving. With Grainger's vast selection of bearings, belts, and motors, he keeps operations running smoothly, so nothing grinds to a halt. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Now, back to the Justin Kinner Show, right here on ESPN Dayton, 1410 Wing AM.
Swung on, and Suarez hits it high in the air. It's deep to center. Ewing back at the wall, turns, looks, gone! Hey, Eugenio Suarez's second home run already tonight, and it's a grand slam.
Like I said, Yahtzee!
Charles Down says, the Kinner and Shaw show coming 2027. I don't know. I don't think that there is enough violence in the workplace training courses that could be taken by him or I for him and I to work together. I don't think it can happen. I really don't think it can happen, to be honest with you. I don't think the show would last very long. It would be entertaining for the 2 days before one of us punched the other person. And I'm not really going to punch anybody. I'm just joking, but still. I mean, you would never know on these calls. I mean, sometimes I'm glad that there is a phone separating us, to be quite honest with you. Nonetheless, but is what it is. But no, it's the Justin Kinner Show, 1410 ESPN Radio. Last night, Suarez pops off, and we've talked a lot of Reds today. I do want to transition to the NFL. We will not be on the air tomorrow. The Reds will close out this series. They will sweep the Mets tomorrow. They will sweep the Mets tomorrow, and it'll preempt my show tomorrow. So just a heads up. Keep that in mind. But yeah. I want to switch over to the NFL for another. Yesterday we were joking, not really joking, but Kevin and I were talking about just all the Knicks fans who just came out of the woodworks, who, were doing those fake videos. All right. Of, my phone. I just accidentally had it propped up and it was accidentally facing me. And it just so happened to be accidentally recording, as it just embarrassingly caught me crying with emotion as I watched the Knicks win a championship. Y'all are lame if you did that. I don't care about being emotional watching your team win. I just had a problem with the fake social media reaction stuff. And I love social media. I love reactions to games and stuff. I don't care about that. I'm not judging that, but the fake crying. I've waited my whole life for this. And then they're doing the scrunched up, ugly cry face, and they're whimpering and they're talking as if they're crying, but there's not a single tear being shed. I mean, the horrible acting is just absolutely insane going on. But now the Mets winning was great for the Knicks winning was great for the NBA, no doubt about it. And, yesterday we were joking, talking about, would you cry if your team won a championship? Would your team winning a championship bring about tears? Would it bring you 2 tears to watch your team win a championship? And I said, look, if you're an Ohio State fan, I better not catch you crying watching the Buckeyes win a championship. The Buckeyes are championship contenders every year. That's what they're expected to do. There's some championships that are more feel good than others, as Kev talked about. I said that the last national championship for the Buckeyes was the most impressive in program history. He said that it was the one against Miami. We kind of met in the middle. I said actually the most impressive championship game, I guess, was the Miami game because of how big of an underdog Ohio State was. But back in the day, you didn't even have to play in the Big Ten championship. It was regular season's done. You're in the championship. I still think Ohio State winning that national championship 2 years ago was the most impressive because the path of which they had to take to get there, to play a Tennessee, to play Oregon, who beat you earlier in the season, to have to play Texas, and then to have to play Notre Dame. I mean, to beat those 4 programs, to go on to win a national championship. I mean, I don't know how you can't argue that is the most impressive national championship in program history. So Kevin and I met in the middle. The most impressive championship game, I guess, or win, if you will, is, beating Miami in that national championship. But I mean, hell, even when Urban Meyer won the national championship at Ohio State, when they won a national championship at Ohio State, or when Urban did, everyone talks about, oh yeah, when Ohio State won the national championship, that's the year they beat Alabama. No, they didn't beat Alabama in the national championship game. They beat Alabama to get there. That wasn't, you had to beat Alabama to get to that championship game, but I think having to beat Oregon wasn't as impressive. I mean, when your semifinal win is more impressive than your final win, I think there you go. But the fact that Ohio State had to beat all 4 of those programs, to do it. I mean, to go to the West Coast and have to beat Oregon on the West Coast, have to beat Texas, in Texas, right? And then you go on, you did get a home game against Tennessee, luckily, but nonetheless. But we're talking about all that. And I said, look, if the Browns won a Super Bowl, Cleveland would not move me to tears winning a Super Bowl. But Cleveland has almost moved me to tears with how bad that they have been. I mean, they have almost made me cry on numerous occasions, and none of them have had anything to do, when they win a big game or make the playoffs or what have you, right? I did say that the Bengals winning a Super Bowl would make me cry. I would cry if the Bengals win a Super Bowl, not out of tears of joy or happiness, just because of the hell that I know is about to be brought upon me by you, because of all the smack I've talked about those Cincinnati Bengals when it's all said and done. But, the Browns are never going to win absolutely anything unless they get the quarterback right. We know this. And the Browns have been desperately looking for a quarterback. I honestly think during that Deshaun Watson era, and I say that as if past tense, Deshaun's still on the team, and there's a good chance he could be the week 1 starter. Completely get that. But, it does feel like this is just hey, if there's something left in the tank, they're going to throw him out there, see what's out there. But, they're ready to move on from the Deshaun Watson era, no doubt about it. But I do think that during the peak of when Deshaun was, when they traded for Deshaun, and you look at that defense and you look at the roster that they had with Amari Cooper at his peak and everything, and you had Nick Chubb and you had that offensive line, that in that defense, I think they were one of the most well-rounded teams. If Deshaun Watson, if you would have got top 5, if you would have got the QB that played in Houston, with that roster, I think Cleveland, I'm not saying they win a Super Bowl, but they're in the playoffs. They have a division championship to show for it. They have a couple playoff wins, maybe an AFC championship appearance, something, right? I do believe that. That's not me being a homer. If Deshaun was the quarterback that he was in Houston, as he was supposed to be in Cleveland, with that run game, with that offensive line, Amari Cooper's not, he's obviously not, Cincinnati Bengals wide receiver-esque by any means. He's not Jamar Chase, but I mean, my goodness, was he good? And we saw that when he was, with Joe Flacco. But the point is we've seen that Cleveland has more times than not been a quarterback away. We've said it about Cleveland for a while. And they fixed this offensive line. The pass catchers are drastically better. They have Quinshon Judkins. They have great tight ends now, all within one, first, second year. The defense, I'll never say losing Myles Garrett is a good thing. It is not. It's definitely not a good thing. I mean, I don't think that this defense is better without Myles Garrett by any means, but I still think that this defense, they have one of the best secondaries in football. They have one of the best linebacker cores in football, and they have a lot of depth up front. And I think that the return that they got from the Rams, obviously that was big. They weren't left with nothing up front. As far as that's concerned. I mean, when you look at the pieces that they do have up front of that defensive line, Jared Verse, I mean, we've talked about the impact of that. So Cleveland, you could theoretically say, is because of how young and not dominant, but how young this roster is and how impressive the drafts have been and how good that I think this is a good roster. They're right back in a position of being a quarterback away. And more time, and that's what Andrew Berry, I think Andrew Berry's done a phenomenal job in Cleveland as far as the overall roster construction, but Andrew Berry's legacy in Cleveland has always been about being a quarterback away. And they're right back at it. All right. They have two really good receivers they just selected in the draft. You have Quinshon Judkins. You have a revamped offensive line with Pro Bowl offensive linemen that they had to go out and improve, and they did that. You have Harold Fannin Jr., who was a tight end, who was the team's leading receiver last year, and a very good tight end, by the way. And you have that defense. To talk about that secondary, that linebacker core, that defensive line, the depth that they have up front. Like, they have what it takes to go out there and win a lot of football games. But no one's putting them in the talks to go out there and win a lot of football games because no one believes in the QB room. And that's the story of the Cleveland Browns. So Cleveland, anytime that there is a quarterback to be had, okay, okay, Cleveland's going to be in the conversation about, okay, that's the guy. The Browns need to go get that quarterback, right? They need to get that quarterback. They need to do that. They need to go get that quarterback. They need to do this. They need to do that. And all this, that, and the other, right? And there's a lot of teams who are in that boat. The Jets are always in that boat. The Cardinals are in that boat. There's always these teams that they have to go out and get a quarterback, right? Well, with this Brendan Sorsby situation that's going on right now, Brendan Sorsby is a QB that everyone is doing this thing because no one watches UC football. No one watched him at UC. No one, no one gave him any, attention. I, working with Chatterbox for as long as I did with those guys who talked a lot of UC football, I was watching more Cincinnati football than ever. Sorsby's a hell of a quarterback. He's a very, very good quarterback. And I'm actually, I was pissed off that Texas Tech was going to play him this year. I kind of wish that we would have got a chance to see him play at Texas Tech this year, just for everyone to see how good of a quarterback that he was at Cincinnati and that he could have been at Texas Tech, as far as with way more resources, better talent all around him. I think that he would have had a chance to flourish and shine. But it came out, he's no longer going to be eligible to play. Him and Texas Tech have parted ways, and he announced that he is going to, of course, enter the supplemental draft. And he's being linked to the Cleveland Browns right off the bat. And many people are rolling their eyes at him. I mean, Cleveland has enough drama in that QB room. Andrew Berry talking about it doesn't matter what he's done to this point. It's about what he's going to do moving forward to fix it, right? And we've seen them operate that. We've seen them throw out that playbook before with Deshaun. All right, we don't care what he's done to this point, which was a problem. But they cared about what he was going to do to resurrect his character and his reputation and all that moving forward. And that's what they were, of course, looking at. The problem is they believed in all that until he was butt cheeks on the football field. He didn't know he wasn't good. He wasn't worth the noise anymore, right? Sorsby's one of those where had he played this upcoming season, there's a very good chance he's being selected in the first round in the top 10 next year. And every scout, there's a lot of scouts out there that have come out and talked about how good and how he is and the ceiling and the expectations that he had at Texas Tech, all of that. All right. Field Yates with ESPN, he immediately reacted to the news that, of course, Sorsby was going to enter his name into the supplemental draft, and just what this means for any team that positions themselves to land him from a football standpoint, knowing that there's going to be a lot of noise surrounding him with the sports gambling drama that, of course, led to his ultimate exit at Texas Tech. But just from a football standpoint, who is Brendan Sorsby, the quarterback prospect, when it comes to the National Football League? Take a listen to Field Yates.
He was going to go in the first round of 2027. This guy's legit. He had a chance to go maybe in the top 10 picks if things broke really right during his time at Texas Tech. This guy's got good size, very good athlete, a sick runner, 18 rushing touchdowns over the past 2 seasons. He is a gamer. He's got serious moxie. His second reaction skills are all legit. This guy's got the goods to play in the NFL. I thought last year the accuracy waxed and waned too much, but he's got starting quarterback upside in the NFL.
So if we're talking about a guy that was, heading into this, going to be projected as a first-round pick and had things panned out at Texas Tech the way they were anticipated to, would have been in the top 10, been selected in the top 10. Here's the thing with Cleveland, and I've said this before, they're in that weird spot. And I remember last week when we did I did the segment on best case, worst case scenario. And I said that the best case scenario for the Browns would be horrible quarterback play so that they knew exactly what they needed to do as far as addressing the quarterback situation. If they get an average year from Shedeur Sanders, they're going to be like, man, I don't think we're in a position to move on from an average Shedeur Sanders. Look how tough it is to find even an average quarterback. But you also know you can't bring a Shedeur Sanders. All right. You can't bring a Shedeur Sanders to, of course, a Joe Burrow fight, a Lamar Jackson fight. That you can't do some of those things, right? So that's the problem, is that's the predicament that the Browns are in. So the best case scenario is that they don't get that both Deshaun and Shedeur look horrible this season. It makes their path so much easier. They know what they have to get. But I don't think that Shedeur is going to be that bad. I think that he is going to be average. And I think that they're going to win about, I've said anywhere between 7. Not guaranteeing 9 wins. I think the team is good enough to win 9 games if they get average QB play from Shedeur Sanders. They have the pass catchers. They have the offensive line. Quinshon Judkins can run the football. That defense isn't going to be as elite as what it was with Myles Garrett, but that defense is still better than a lot of teams in the AFC with that secondary linebacker core and, of course, the depth that they have on that defensive line. So, that's the problem. Cleveland, when we talk about, well, they just need to get an Arch Manning or a Dante Moore. This team's not great, but I don't think Cleveland's bad enough to be in position to get a Dante Moore or an Arch Manning. I just don't think they're in position to do that. They're not bad enough to get that guy. So if you have a chance to get a guy like Sorsby, who from a talent perspective is good enough to go in the top 10, if realistically he would have played at Texas Tech, I don't even think that Cleveland would have been bad enough to land him in the draft to begin with next year. So if he is made available in this draft coming up, and you could put a bid in on him and have to use a second or a third round pick to land him, I don't think it's all that crazy of an idea for the Cleveland Browns to explore. The reason I wouldn't if I'm Cleveland is because don't you want to try to draft a quarterback where there is no drama, where there is no nonsense? But you also aren't going to be able to draft a quarterback as talented as Sorsby because you're not bad enough to do it. He would be a top 10 pick had he played at Texas Tech a year from now. But now that he's available now, a quarterback like Sorsby, that talent doesn't just become readily available in a supplemental draft like this, hardly at all, if ever. So Cleveland has an opportunity, and you have the draft capital to do it. You could do it. Like, it's not like you have no draft picks. You have plenty of draft picks to make this happen. I think that the Browns should entertain. And honestly, if the Browns end up doing this, I think they're telling you we don't have confidence in Shedeur. We don't have confidence in Deshaun. And if the Browns choose not to go down the road based on, the fact that you had Andrew Berry come out and say, hey, everyone deserves, it's not about what he did. It's about what he's going to do moving forward as far as how he's going to fix his reputation and show that he's, a healed person, this, that, and the other. They're showing that they're willing to explore it. And if they do end up being aggressive and trying to land him, then to me, they're telling you they don't have the faith in Shedeur Sanders. If they're already going to take a quarterback that they feel like would have been good enough to take in the top 10 next year. But if they don't, then they're telling you, in my opinion, they do have faith in Shedeur Sanders for this upcoming season. But Sorsby, to me, the Browns, you guys can mock them how you want, but the bottom line is this team is not bad enough to draft an elite quarterback at the top of the first round. They're just not. They're going to win 7 to 9 games next year. They're going to be picking outside of the top 10. And I'm not saying you can't get a quarterback outside of the top 10, but again, like this drives me nuts with people. Oh, well, you can get a quarterback in the second or third or fourth round. Yes, you can, but everyone tanks to improve their draft status at the top of the first round. People give up premium stuff to go get first round draft picks. Why? Because that's where you get your elite quarterbacks. Not saying you can't later, but the probability of landing an elite quarterback later in the draft, it's all about the numbers game. That number dips and dips and dips. But look at the QBs right now who are constantly in that Super Bowl contention. All first round guys, from Josh Allen, to Drake May, to Lamar Jackson, still a first rounder, right? But a first rounder. Joe Burrow. All right, you look at CJ Stroud. You look at Trevor Lawrence with Jacksonville. All right, Patrick Mahomes with the Chiefs. Justin Herbert with the Chargers. Caleb Williams with the Bears. All right. You go up and down all of this, and it's all about those QBs that you get at the top of that first, at the top of the draft in the first round. Jaden Daniels with Washington. This isn't hard to figure out. And yes, you can go around and look at Dallas, what they got with Dak later in the draft. Look at the Packers. All right. Look at these teams throughout the draft. Okay. Or throughout the NFL that have quarterbacks that they took later. Okay. I completely get that. Sam Darnold won a Super Bowl last year. First round pick, but it didn't look like a first round pick for the longest time, right? He team hopped or whatever. But you look around, look at the 49ers. They're a Super Bowl contender with Mr. Irrelevant. But again, no one game plans for Mr. Irrelevant. No one's, we don't need, hey, we can get Joe Burrow with the number 1 overall pick, but forget that. Let's just take a wide receiver and we'll just hope that we get we'll get Brock. Hopefully we'll get a Brock Purdy in the 7th round. No. So to me, if you have a chance to get a quarterback that would have been selected in the first round next April, and you can get him in the supplemental draft now, I wouldn't blame Cleveland whatsoever. I wouldn't blame Cleveland whatsoever as far as that's concerned. All right, as we wrap this up here today, I built this earlier. Who should gamble on Sorsby? If you're an NFL team, okay, and you're in this supplemental draft and you have a chance to get him, okay, the top 5 teams that I think should be in on Brendan Sorsby, I think Cleveland right there at the top. Like I said, because by the way, if you get Sorsby and he pans out, you have 2 first rounders next year. You have 2 elite young wide receivers, a great pass catching tight end who led your team in receiving last year. Your offensive line is strong. You have Quinshon Judkins. You have a lot of young pieces on defense. You could probably trade one of the older veteran players and still, keep more draft picks coming in. Like, they could start adding more and more talent and depth to the roster if they have their quarterback figured out. And finding out if Sorsby's the guy now versus a year from now, I think puts them in a huge position to get a top 10 caliber quarterback, okay, in a supplemental draft a year early. I think puts this team in a position that they can speed up this rebuild as far as that goes. I have the Houston Texans right here at number 2 on this list. All right. And I know that sounds crazy, right? Because keep in mind the Houston Texans. All right. They were one of the worst teams in football. They drafted CJ Stroud, and all they've done since drafting CJ Stroud is they've made the playoffs every year. And every year since drafting CJ Stroud, they have won a playoff game. They've won a division championship. Every year they win. Every year. But a lot of that has to do with the defense and their ability to run the football. They've been a very fundamentally sound franchise when it comes to the roster construction. That defense is arguably the best defense in the NFL. They're going to win games this upcoming season, but they want a QB. They're going to, it's about time where they're going to have to pay CJ Stroud. Are you really going to pay CJ Stroud market value? Are you going to give him $55 million? This is the predicament that the Browns were in years ago. We like CJ Stroud. We win with CJ Stroud, but are we really winning because of CJ Stroud? But I do know if we move on from CJ Stroud, we will lose because we don't have CJ Stroud. That's the tough spot that the Texans are in. So if you're the Texans and you have a chance to get a Sorsby, I think that you should kick the tires on that. And it puts the pressure on CJ Stroud, because if CJ Stroud goes out there and he's not great this upcoming season, they don't have to financially invest into Stroud, and they can continue having a rookie QB on a rookie deal and continuing keeping that defense and those pieces in check. I think that that's an option there. At number 3, I have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I've talked about this. I think they're in the same boat that the Texans are in. The Texans and Buccaneers, 2 really good teams, but there's a ceiling with them. They're good. They have good QBs. They're okay QBs. All right. Their defense is good. They have everything you need, but there's a ceiling with them because no one truly believes in those QBs right now because they haven't gone out to prove it that they can go out there and compete with the Joe Burrows and the Josh Allens and Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes and those guys. So I think the Buccaneers are right there, mainly because it's not that they don't think that Baker Mayfield's good enough to win, but it's an older roster and they win every year. They can make the playoffs, but they get knocked out in the wild card. It's like, okay, well, now what? Now we're just running in place, right? The Tampa Bay Buccaneers would make sense to go get a Sorsby as far as that goes. You could pay Baker Mayfield $50 million, or you can get Sorsby and keep that money to go distribute to the rest of the roster. I think that the Buccaneers make sense. The Pittsburgh Steelers are in the same boat. They have a talented roster. They have a very good defense. They have the most expensive defense in the NFL. Okay. And if you can get Sorsby on that rookie deal in the supplemental draft and you don't have to put money into the QB position, now you can take that money and disperse it to the rest of the roster. The Steelers are in a good position there. And then the Lions, from the standpoint of, I like Jared Goff. I think he's doing a fine job there, but there is a ceiling there. And I think that at some point you got to, have a backup plan for what the future at quarterback is in Detroit, because that's a well-run organization now. They have good defense. They have good pieces. But they have to have a plan. Shaw, I saw that you said, your list, like Cleveland, the Jets, Miami, Pittsburgh, Detroit. We agree on Detroit. We agree on Pittsburgh. I'm taking the Jets out of there just because there's a lot of teams who are bad and they need a quarterback. I included teams who are good and need a quarterback. The Texans are borderline elite if they can get a quarterback. And it might be CJ. And by the way, I love CJ Stroud. I'm not poo-pooing on Stroud, but the Texans are in the same boat that the Browns are in with Baker Mayfield. Okay. And it's ironic because the Texans are in the same boat that the Browns are in with Baker Mayfield. And that's the same boat that the Buccaneers are in with Baker Mayfield. There are good teams who are a quarterback away that can remain really good if you find a good rookie quarterback that you could put the money to the rest of the roster to keep it intact and add more talent. But if the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have to give Baker Mayfield $55 million, the Buccaneers aren't good anymore. If the Texans have to give the CJ Stroud that we've seen the last couple of years $55, $60 million, because that's what the market says, the Texans aren't going to be good anymore. And that's where I'm at, and the Steelers might have to blow everything up if they need to go get a quarterback, or they can get Sorsby and they could just keep operating as is. Sorsby, the offense, the good quarterback that he is with the Mike McCarthy, Steelers could be really good, continue to be good. So, Shaw, I almost had the Jets on my list, but I took them off because I'm like, well, of course, the Cardinals need a quarterback. They can get a Sorsby. The Jets need a quarterback. They can get a Sorsby. But I'm like, I took them off just because I'm like, I think that there are other teams who would never be in position to get a Sorsby had he played this upcoming season, because he would have been selected high in the first round. And I just don't think that Cleveland or Houston or Tampa or Pittsburgh would be picking that high in the draft to even get someone like that. So that's why I have them where they're at on my list. We're out of time. I want to talk about this more tomorrow because I am curious people's thoughts on this. But the Sorsby thing, and let's be clear, I think Sorsby talent-wise makes sense for Cleveland. I would stay away from Sorsby if I'm Cleveland. I would. I just think that it would be nice for Cleveland to finally have a QB where there's no noise around. If you could draft Dante Moore and all the talk is around Dante Moore of what he did at Oregon and what he's doing in college football, and not, oh my God, a quarterback with all these sexual assault allegations. Oh my God, a quarterback that all he does, he's so cocky, he's so arrogant, his dad's obnoxious, all this stuff. Like, there's always noise and drama. And now you're going to potentially get a quarterback that all the conversation is not going to be about what he could do on the field. It's going to be about, oh my God, he threw an interception. Is he throwing the game? Like, Cleveland, you deserve you've killed it with the draft the last couple of years. You deserve a QB and a clean slate. And Sorsby might be the QB talent-wise, but I don't know, man. I don't know. And if you win, you erase a lot of the stuff. Like, not as many people talk about it. But who has the faith in that the Browns are going to win? Especially with Sorsby. Who knows? But I do think Cleveland makes sense for Sorsby because they need a QB from that perspective. But the Browns fan in me is saying, don't get him. But from a football perspective, I understand why the Browns would be in the mix as far as that's concerned. All right, have a good rest of your night, everybody. We do have Reds baseball coming up later on this evening. Reds and Mets, game 2. I'm expecting a big game from Suarez. Calling it now. Suarez will have another home run tonight. He'll have another home run, or he'll at least have 2 hits, or he'll have 1 home run. Maybe that one home run will be a part of those 2 hits. I expect another big game from Suarez. I think that was last night the sign of him heating up. Let's go. Let's go. All right, folks, have a great night. Until Thursday, this has been the Justin Kinner Show presented by Frickers. Frickers, your home for fun, food, sports, and spirits.